Welcome to another edition of the Raw Deal Roundtable. Today I am joined with MightyBP Brian again. Got everyone's favorite George with us again this time. And our special guest this week is the world champ himself, Mr. Oderschvank. How's everybody doing
Hello.
today?
Great.
Yep,
Doing
great.
good, doing good.
So we brought Oder with us to have him talk about his world's victory. So if you want to go through some of your thoughts on Worlds, Oder, we're happy to hear what you have to say.
Sure. No problem. Maybe what I'll do is I'll start right at the beginning from my thought process when I was entering Worlds. To put it simply, Worlds, I feel that it's best to have a deck that can pretty much adapt to many situations. Like you want him to go fast, okay. If you want to go aggro, you want him to go defensive. He can do either one. And at the same time, I have to think of the stuff that the opponent's gonna play. So to put it simply, I had my top three choices were Jinder, uh, Eric Bischoff, and Corbin. Yeah.
Three.
Secondary choices would be Bookerman and Babe of the Year. That is second tier, but they do have some glaring weaknesses, which I think that's why in the end I didn't choose to go through with them. Yeah. The reason why Jinder was picked is because of pretty much his modern day Maharaja is a really good card defensively since it just stops ringside removal and plan disruption, which I think it's very key in the current meta. And it blocks even ability, so that is wonderful. Like Babe of the Year can't touch him at all. If you think about it.
Yeah, I was worried about running into you too, because with New Nexus trying to make you discard three, and Modern Majora would have been like, nope, it's only one. You know,
Yep,
pretty
very much
powerful.
indeed. Yeah, yeah. And if I recall, you do have did you pack thrust in or you can't pack thrust in live, right, for new Nexus?
No, can't
Ah,
pack it.
okay. Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. Yeah, that's why I mean I had a very easy time against Seth Rollins. Uh I mean even the theme was pretty much okay with me as well. Um yeah, and but of course the decks that I'm really afraid of is of course BFM and Viscera. Yeah, I would pretty much lose if I were to face Viscera as well, honestly speaking. Yeah, because it is too fast for Jinder to handle. It's just too aggressive. I can't get my momentum back in time, most probably. Yeah. So yeah, Jinder was quite a slept-on choice, I feel. I mean, he's pretty much the best hit deck. Um, given the current meta, that's my opinion. The other good nice hit decks as well, but they just don't really compare. So and somehow Jinder is kind of a nice, something like a nice diversity hire. I think every SS is most probably white or something. So it's nice to have nice to have different face, I guess.
So your only loss in Swiss was obviously to Evan and BFM, and is it the speed of the deck? You just couldn't keep up with how fast he was throwing moves? Is that kind of what you're getting to with why you were scared of it, or?
Yeah, the main reason why is because he can pretty much secure a very high fortitude right at the start. I mean, at most, at least the second turn where you have like 15 fortitude plus. Actually, no, 20, most probably 20 fortitude. Then you have to look at stuff like change return and other specific reversals, will which will really put a dent in my plans. And he's running Hell in a Cell, which will actually hinder Jinder quite a bit because he can't recover from drawing a blank. There is no way you can you can bypass Hell in a Cell even with making your escape or whatsoever. Drawing a blank, the recovery part is dead once you see Hell in a Cell. Um, so I had to really gain my 6 fortitude. I mean, yeah, 6 fortitude so I can play my specific action to recover and gain another 3 fort. But I never got to 6. I just hit 5, and then I finished off by his hit by his shipment finisher. Yeah, that's pretty much the story. Yeah,
I think most of us were asleep when the game happened, but can you walk us through your game with Visionary? Because the that was a, at least for me, a surprise ending, and to end via count out. If you could share any details, that'd be great.
Is that top eight then game, George?
visionary. Oh yes, with a debut, right?
With debut, yeah, it was right before
Yes,
the finals.
Was
When
that
we heard
was that top four?
top four.
So let's
yes,
start
top 4.
with top eight then. Who did you play first round of top eight? I can't remember.
Oh crap! First round of top 8. Well, honestly, I can't really recall who was my opponent. Oh, it was Ponder with
Oh yeah,
Batista. Yeah,
yeah.
Batista. Yes.
You want to go through that game a little bit?
Okay. For Ponder, right? For Batista is my game plan is just as much as possible. I want him to gain 6 fortitude first, so at least he can't play his unleash bomb with a protection. But sadly, that didn't happen. So he still gained his fortitude. Uh, he still gained his fortitude as per normal, which is not a very good thing since Batista's. I feel that his actions are very annoying, and I don't care about the hit got blanked quite relatively early on in the match by one of his specific actions. I think he has one that's able to blank stuff, so I can't remove his swing set out anymore. But the thing is, Batista does run into hand drawing issues. He can't really keep up a big hand, generally speaking, without stun value and such. So even when his maneuver is successful, I try to sustain it down to the minimal, so at least he doesn't get to draw or stun. And I start to whittle his hand away using stuff like vertical power bombs, atomic body locks, so that at least I can control his offense a little bit. And once at the end, when I know he only has 2 spine busters in hand, I just play my mania, and that's it. Yeah, generally that was my recollection. I hope it's not too brief.
No, that sounds great. So then you were top four against Debu with Visionary, which
Yes,
he's the one who seems to have been knocking you out of all the previous tournaments that you got second
yes.
place in. So I think George was really interested in recap of your what went on in that game for you.
Oh, that was actually one hell of a game. Because Visionary, I mean, ability aside, right? Um, the thing about Visionary is that he does have access to Seth Rollins cards, which is extremely good. Seth Rollins superstar specific cards are on another level itself, right? I mean, if you think about it, his Rollins pedigree, Kingslayer especially, is extremely, extremely annoying. So against Debu, right, I had to keep up my I don't care about the heat, so that I can constantly remove his swing side power since from I don't think he has a lot of recovery options for remove from king. And for that it is in the start I was getting dominated pretty much. Because he has full access to my hand and all that. It's just that, but I do have reversals in hand, but I let most of his, those stuff that's not waist lock through. Waist lock or reverse for sure, but other than that, his normal maneuvers, I see if I can just let it through, sustain and whatnot, since it is inevitable that he will gain fault. And subsequently, as the game drags on, right, Tinder will actually have the upper hand. Since I'm running, I don't care about the heat, and I can pretty much recover infinitely with the Vari as well, if you think about it. the Vari spam with sparks of glory and fuel the fire, right? So the thing is, for Visionary, his SmackDown. He does a few tricks up his sleeve, like he can ace the SmackDown Legends to play Atomic Knee Drop, you know that. And Ginder does have stuff like a Singh Brothers Assist to just blank the attacks and damage completely. So I do have tools like that at my disposal, and in the end, basically, I just outlasted him, and I played a maneuver which I think is either a vertical power bomb or something like that, and he just overturned. No, it's not vertical power. I think it's headlock or something. So he just overturned, and he didn't reverse it on he didn't reverse it from Arsenal, and that was his last card. The last damage just ticked, and I just took the count out from there. Since doesn't really matter whether it's count out pin for top card. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was the top cut, or it was the count out top cut in Worlds this year.
Yeah, correct. But the funny thing about this is Visionary. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like I'm salty or what, but when Visionary was out during V14, right? Yes, the most recent expansion.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, correct, correct. And that was the same expansion where they actually did a few tweaks to I mean specifically Judo Stroke and Kyle O'Reilly. Yeah, because Kyle has been nerfed to the ground. I wouldn't really touch Kyle anymore. And I was thinking, if if Kyle, I mean if they can come if Visionary is something that can be, conjured up, right? And so I was thinking, where does Kyle stand? Kyle is not really that, it's not really that um how does that prolific, it's not that oppressive, I feel. He's just basically a sponge where you can where you can have a million and one ways to take him down, depending on how you want to do it. Yeah, I mean, this is just something off the top of my head, which I can't really, which I'm just trying to figure out. Yeah.
We'll have to have you on next time when Evan and Bob are here, and they can explain.
Yeah. I'll be interested to know. Yeah, but seriously, Kyle O'Reilly is like even weaker than Roderick Strong now. Really, really, I'm not kidding. I try to formulate a few stuff, but nah, doesn't work.
So, what was your thoughts going into the finals against Eric Bischoff, a deck you were thinking of playing in George?
Um, Honestly, I know the odds are slightly stacked in my favor since, Jinder pretty much stops what Eric Bischoff is doing mostly, which is removal, right? Yeah, and I think that the main thing is I honestly I think the MVP in that match, which is quite rare to see, is actually Witty Retort. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
I
it is
I
Witty
think
Retort.
I said this last time, but I will share it again. And I was talking with some close friends about that matchup, and I seen a couple of your games, but didn't see everything. I said, I understand he's gonna stop everything, but the game changer is gonna if he drops Witty on me, I think it's gonna change everything. And sure enough, you had Witty.
Yeah, correct. And the reason why usually Jinder will not really have space for Witty, but because I went face, so that's why the mid match you can free up quite a number of slots if you're not healed. Yeah, but Witty for against Eric Bischoff is extremely rough because of your controversy, your rules were meant. In fact, actually, when Witty, I was thinking halfway through, I'm just gonna recover with the Varis and all that, so at least I don't have to worry about rules were meant to be broken. But yeah, that was actually my train of thought. But Witty is just something, to there to stop, actually just to stop rules were meant in general, in case I want to sponge off the Vari. Yeah, to put it simply. Yeah, but I didn't expect to generate so much value against in a match because VT is usually VT doesn't really take up that high of a spot. Yeah, in terms of value generation, honestly speaking, yeah.
What was the any big turning points for you? You thought in the match while it was going on, or any part of the match you want to highlight? I think most people saw it, but like kind of your thinking towards the end. You went with the Mania for the win. Did you have any other outs in that game besides Mania, or was that kind of like your one way to finish him off?
Um, I think that would most probably be my only way to finish it off, to finish the match, because I see no way I can pin him conventionally. Uh, I did pack Afterburn in my deck as well, but I don't think it is applicable since I have no heat cards or any cards that's removed from the game in essence. So I can't make him burn. But even so, he has Rochester. So that's going to be an extremely. It's going to drag on for another 2 hours, most probably, if I would go that route. Yeah, and yeah, pretty much Mania was the only way, unless I managed to play Singh Brothers Assist, which can make my Kalas unreversible from Arsenal. Yeah, but I don't think George is going to play anything at that point of time. So yeah, I might risk, if I didn't have Mania, I might risk getting counted out instead. Pretty much.
I think I don't know how everything would have went. And you're right, it would have went a couple more hours. But I think if you didn't have Mania, I think the game would have ended with me taking the count out and you having 47 cards in your hand. That's what I think it would have
Yeah,
went if it wasn't for Mania.
correct, correct, correct.
Because
That would
at that
that would be
point, I
exactly it.
realized you didn't have a way of getting the cards out of your hand, and I caught on to that.
Yeah,
So I said, well, I'm going to keep him in his hand because I know if they're in his ringside, they're going to end up back in your arsenal. So I needed to keep him in your hand, and
yeah,
um,
correct. I was really waiting for you to play something, anything at all. I'll just let it through and discard like 15 cards from my hand. That's what I want to do. Yeah,
I shared it as well. A mid game mistake is I did have a manager in my hand at one point, and I Rochestered it back in. And ideally, what would have made sense was playing the manager, playing an outside interference, putting myself at 20 to stop your atomic body locks because I had a schoolboy in my
good boy.
hand and a schoolboy under controversy. And I think that would have slowed down the process of using it. And I didn't think about the 20 fortitude in that moment. But afterwards, I thought, had I done that, might have reduced the risk of atomic body locks coming at me turn after turn. But I overall, I thought that was a great game, great mind thinking, strategic game for a finals match. But it also, I could be a little biased there too. So
No, I don't disagree with that. I think that's a very fair assessment.
Yeah, it is actually way, way closer than I thought, to be honest with you, since I was thinking Jinder stops so many things that Bishop is trying to do. Yeah, honestly speaking, you really do have me by the ropes. So halfway through, I'm thinking, yeah, I might actually lose this. Yeah, really, really, really. It was, it was really, really good. It was a really, really good game. Yes.
I remember talking to George when the finals were set and just thinking, how are you going to beat Jinder? He stops everything you're trying to do with that pre-match card. And then he's like, well, I'm going to use Stephanie. And that obviously didn't work.
I mean,
So
you could change to Stephanie by
yeah,
removing three
Stephanie,
at
cards.
the time,
yeah,
at the time that the removing three was not in the cards. And I thought I could just switch, get my divine back, keep cycling my divine with Rochester, going back to coach. Sorry, not going back. I wasn't going to be able to go back to coach. I had to time my move because I knew going back to coach would be difficult. But yes, that was a game changer for sure. I mean, clearly a rule that's been intact for a long time, but I had no idea because I didn't play Raw Deal when those enforcers came out, and I just read the card for what it said, so I just assumed it worked overall, right? And then controversy came out in virtual, so I just assumed that it was meant to work that way.
Yeah, I get you. I found out about that rule accidentally as well, where I tried to build a Stacy Keebler trying to switch to Shane mid-game, and I realized I can't really do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was allowed for like 6 months, and all hell broke loose, and that's why Comic Images eroded it. Like
Yeah, at
the
that
the
point of
most.
time, I remember Stephanie McMahon was top
Mhm.
tier, really top tier, just because, you just enforce APA, get 12 hand size. After that, start your turn, switch to Shane, and just fly opponent, just high reach your opponent to death. Yeah,
Yep,
that was the plan.
yep, and that was disgusting against most decks.
Yeah, correct. Well, but right now, Stephanie does need something like that.
Oh, whoa, slow down. She needs.
I mean,
I'm
she
not going to
needs a little
disagree.
bit
She
of, she
needs
needs a little bit of
something.
something. She
Let's
needs
not
a
go
little
back
bit
to
of
the dark
something.
ages, though. I don't disagree. She does need something. You're absolutely right. Let's not go that far back.
Yeah, sure. That's a fair point.
Well, congratulations on the win, Oder. I think it was
Thank
well
you.
deserved. You've been so close to winning recently and picked the right tournament to come out on top of finally, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yep, yep. Just I guess I have to thank the dev team for Jinder as well.
For
And,
now, for
and
now,
thank you
right?
for
Yeah, for now,
the
yeah.
changes
You
that
and
are coming
Jacob.
to gender from your
Yeah.
win.
So that's an interesting question that I actually wanted to ask you, Oder.
Yeah.
Coming out of Worlds, you witnessed it firsthand, both as a player and you watched other people's games. Was there anything that stuck out to you as like, oh, this isn't right, this shouldn't be, kind of like Nerf type situations?
Um, I think whatever maybe at the start I was thinking a little bit about fortitude search being able to be removed in Ringside Power, but I think that was going to be errata, or
Yeah,
rather it has been errata already. So I guess I don't really have much of an issue per se with that. Yeah, I mean with anything in general right now. I mean nothing sticks out to me as being too OP or something. Not that I can think of. Maybe just a few superstars that maybe could get some support, like for example Stephanie. Um, and there are also other, like for example, there are also other superstars that don't really need support but they do get it as well. Like for example, something that comes to mind, maybe Paige and possibly Second Coming. I mean, since they changed his ability to the new version, and he still gets the backstage cards that allows him to pack out Jericho's main matches for free. Yeah, I don't really think that's needed. His ability is busted enough as it is. So yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
I'm with you. I agree 100%.
okay. Considering Second Coming current Richmond champ, I'm sure my Richmond play group will be very happy that everyone thinks he's busted.
He's really good.
He's
Yeah, he's
not
busted.
bad.
Yeah. I feel he's quite busted, or honestly speaking, with the ability you can keep playing Goodnight Everyone from Ringside Power, can keep playing. I mean, the Ready to Fight Abuse, definitely that comes to mind right up straight off the bat. But yeah, it's an extremely good ability. I think yeah, I would say that I'll rank that one of the top few abilities in the game. Extremely strong. Yeah.
What was your go-to? What was your go-to with Bischoff if you went with Bischoff? Who was your lead enforcer, or what was your overall game plan? Was it vastly different than my Bischoff? Is I guess the question.
No, I wouldn't say it's vastly different because the main plan is still removal. through the poison and thrusting lifts. The only thing is maybe I would go more lean heavier into volley. I will enforce, most probably I'll start with BFM or in certain situations Triple H, and I will switch up to Mankind once I play the karate kick so that I can bolster my hand at every turn. You know, since Mankind you get to draw two every turn and you reduce your opponent's card damage by one, correct? So and after that it's just be me hitting volley maneuvers every turn to rack up fort and all that. And I might actually put
What was that last part?
I might actually utilize Buried Alive match as well. Yeah. Since it requires you to be higher fort, opponent needs to have a lot more removed from game compared to you, and you need to have more hand, which is which Bischoff definitely helps in RFG part, Mankind helps in the hand part, and fortitude wise, I mean that's debatable. Yeah, that's the only factor I can't really control. Yeah, but Buried Alive match might be my go-to. Yeah, for that situation. And along the way, if the game situation changes, I can change enforcers to Booker to whatever. Yep, since he's extremely fluid. I would say Bischoff is really top tier because he is extremely fluid in a sense that he can adapt to so many different situations. Yeah, by easily changing his enforcer. Yeah,
I would agree. Thanks for that. I buried alive Eric Bischoff. Wow. For Worlds. That would have been a
That
bold
would have
move.
that would have been something.
That would have been
yeah, that would be off meta, I would say.
yeah. And I think Baron Corbin needs no explanation, right? We know what Baron
Yeah.
Corbin does.
No,
Bri-
he does not.
Well,
Brian's familiar with Barrett Corbin.
I've been the giver and the receiver when it comes to Baron Corbin. He is very, very, very good.
yeah.
Yeah, he is very good,
I
but
think I've ever heard you get mad at a game as I did in your last one in your BWO game, right?
Oh, I was pissed. It was look, I knew I was down. I knew I was kind of behind it from the start just because of the superstars. He had 8 non-superstar specific D0 reversals to crown jewel maneuvers.
wow.
And on top of having the mid match, which it is what it is. I played that slightly wrong. I should have at least waited at 5 fortitude until I got to the RFG because that would have blocked all D0 reversals with Holly's pre-match. But I mean, that would have gotten me to 9, and then I ended up with like 9 or 10. Like it would have crawled me a couple more fort, but I still wouldn't have hit another move. So I mean, he's just strong. I went in there trying to take out his ringside pile, and he ended up just blowing up his hand. So such is. But I have made top cut with Corbin before. He is very, very good. I would say easy tier 1.5, if not tier 1, easily.
Yeah, and he does have a benefit which not many superstar have, which is you can't prevent him from playing pre-matches. By I mean, it doesn't care whether it's your ability or your card effects. You just can't prevent him from playing pre-matches. Yeah, that means against a GM,
And
against
gets
Bischoff, you just
reversals with Homecoming, right?
I'm sorry.
And he gets mid-match
Yes,
reversals with Homecoming.
Yeah, one of 2 people who does.
So he's got a move to throw every turn. He can't be prevented his mid match or his pre match, and all his crap's RMS. So you're not sustaining anything.
yeah. He does have very good superstar specifics as well. So yeah, the whole package is good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Brian, who's the other superstar?
Say again?
Benoit,
Who's
Benoit
the other
isn't it?
superstar that gets reversals with Homecoming?
Benoit.
Benoit. Yeah.
The title home to Canada lets him ignore you cannot play.
Yeah.
So speaking of Baron Corbin and the BWO, let's go through how everyone's currently doing in that event. Oder, I think you're are you 4-0? Did you play your last match, your fifth round match yet?
I My next match will be your debut. I'm currently 4-0, but most probably I'll
You,
lose the
sh-
next one.
you should be three and
Yeah,
one. You got lucky that second round.
yeah, correct. Yes, against your Eugene, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
That was a good match though. That was really fun.
You were my third.
correct. I'm sorry.
Was I your third round opponent?
Yeah, you had Oder in the
I
third round.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had
Okay.
Oder. I think that was
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt
It was
throwback.
Bray. It was Bray versus King of Kings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, Bray. Okay, I
And
remember the Divas Bray, right?
yeah, I tried to do a Divas Bray. That was an old Worlds deck I had stashed away in case I ever entered, but it was also originally a first of all deck, so not having first of all made it kind of worse. But I decided to go with it anyway. It was a mistake to make that choice because I didn't think of it when I made the choice that one of Oder's picks was a remake superstar. So had I played Fiend Bray Wyatt, he would have had to RFG Arsenal cards every time he played a specific, because King of Kings basically has no specifics. He has like one during the game, I think. So
Yes, correct.
that was my mistake. I decided to go with the deck as like, hey, does this work? Let's try it. I never got to try it yet, and uh, I drew useless reversals all game. Like I literally burnt out all my mid match cards because I had nothing else to do. I could not try. I had like 15, 20 divas, and I couldn't draw one of them to save my life. But
Yeah,
that's how
I
that went. Other than that choice though of which Bray Wyatt to go with, I'm happy with the way the tournament's gone. You know, my first two rounds I went well. I did well. I played
You,
as well as I could against Baron, but no, there was no beating that with my superstars.
you're 2-2, right, Brian?
Correct, and I have Nightlife this round.
Now you haven't had the most. I mean, I think the one round you had this like two of the same superstars, two picks in a row or something. Like it was.
Yes, it was round 2 and 3. I got Bray Wyatt throwback and another repeat. Like I
Yeah.
think both of those, but we'll
George,
see.
George, are you 3-1? Are you 2-2? What are
No,
you?
I'm 2-2.
2-2.
Yeah, the first match was a packing mistake on my part, so I had a dead card because I was William Regal, which is, I won't lie, I'm what I love about the wheel tournament is it gets me motivated to build superstars that I would never build. For anyone that knows me, deck building is definitely not my I'm not the most motivated to deck build. If I have an idea, I'm ready to go, but if I don't, I can't just sit there and say, here's a superstar. What do I do with him? I need motivation to build it. So the spin the wheel tournament helps me build superstars that I would never think of building. So William Regal was my first build. I have used that deck many times since. I absolutely love William Regal. I cannot believe how fun he is for me. I know it's not fun for everybody. For me, um, but I lost that game via countout. I probably should have lost it via pinfall because there was a ruling we found out after the fact. But I played Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and the hand he started off with was just unbelievable, and mine was not great at all. But it ended up ending in a countout. Round two was Hoover, so he was Mick Foley and I was Rhea Ripley. Because I Hoover screened Mick Foley, and I was like, I think the only chance I have at beating Mick Foley, who I despise playing against because every game is long, was with Rhea, and that it was still a really good game, but that's what ended up happening. Round three, who was I? Round three, I faced Triple H. I can't remember who I was round three. I'll think about it in a minute. And then round four, I played Jay-Z, who ended up being Paul Heyman, and he was a First Blood Paul Heyman. And I knew with First Blood Paul Heyman, it was only a matter of time. But I was Terry Funk, so we had 2 ECW one night stands, and I thought, this will be great. I could have him discarding 4 a turn, and I'll be shuffling 4 or drawing 2 and shuffling 2, however that would work. But it was a game where he had every reversal he needed, and I didn't. And I think he reversed 12 of my maneuvers, maybe. So I never got on the board and then he finally hit his second kitchen sink with 2 more foreign objects that gave him the First Blood victory. But Jay-Z is someone I play often, and he's a great player, and I did not expect anything less going into that tournament. I was Jack Swagger. So in round 3, I was Jack Swagger, which was another deck once I read him, I said, I can't believe I never built him. He's right up my alley, and he was another fun deck. So I do love that aspect of the tournament because it motivates me to build. And anyone that knows me knows that I still have the same decks from last year's wheel tournament and maybe only 5 additional decks besides the wheel tournament decks. So but so far so good. And then at the final round I'm playing Mike Skizzo, so the rivalry continues. We'll see how that goes. I think we're playing this weekend.
So I'm 3-1 right now. Played Ponder week 1 where I got second coming, so that went well for me. He was Roman Reigns and just could not get any moves off, and it was just downhill for him. Round 2, I played Oder with Eugene versus
Hassan, I think.
Muhammad Hassan. Yeah, that was a really good game. I had you on the ropes. If I could have drawn another trademark, I think I
Yeah,
would have had it, but I could not. I dug really hard. I could not pull another one. And then you just used his recovery cards, and I just couldn't keep up at that point. Round 3, I was Solo Sikoa against Free Dude, and that's a fun deck to play. Solo is a kind of a wrecking ball.
yeah. Solo is actually extremely strong. He's the strongest out of the whole bloodline,
Yeah,
honestly. Yeah,
just throw from ringside or from RFG and just a ton of recovery. And then I played Stinger, and I was against Eugenius round 4. And Stinger's a deck that I wasn't sure what I was going to play, and Brian's like, I really like Stinger. You should check him out. And I tried him, and he's really fun. I enjoy that deck.
Stinger was one of my Gen Con side decks. I won a lot of tournaments in the Gen Con that year with Stinger. Very good.
And then I play Game Interferes Anthony this round. So we haven't scheduled yet, but I'm not really happy with my deck choices, but we'll see how it goes.
I think you were the one that got like the rough choices this round. Like, if you listen to that stream replay, everyone is like, "Oh my god! Oh my god!"
They're like, no one got bad picks. I was like, wait a second, did you see what I got?
I think I typed in that stream. Okay, great joke, guys. The real Will Spin is tomorrow night at 8:00.
Yeah, practice
yeah.
runs over.
I thought Bob has very good spins as well.
Yeah,
Well,
Bob played
who was it? Ponder?
Ponder, and they had
Or just Bob?
ridiculous.
You got to be kidding me.
Bob beat him. What is it? Seamus beat who? Ponder play.
Yeah. I remember he had stuff like Bischoff, Sheamus, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Booker Man? I think he had Booker Man.
Yeah,
It
he
was
beat
Booker
Booker
Man
Man.
and Sheamus.
Yeah.
Sheamus removed like 30 cards off the top of his arsenal for Booker Man's ability and still won.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Sheamus can recover RFG cards. Yeah, by his
Yeah.
pre-match.
Bookerman's
Yep,
another deck I
same.
think is really good. That
Correct.
doesn't get
He is good,
doesn't
but
get
he has
talked
some
about enough.
weaknesses actually. He can get steamrolled. Given the right, given the right, against the right guy, he can actually steamroll him. Or and he also does suffer a little bit from hand disruption as well. So yeah, he's not unbeatable though, but he isn't someone who can play extremely. That can play really really fast. At least I have not tried to build him that way. Yeah, so maybe a fast deck like Viscera or BFM is able to, shouldn't worry too much about him actually.
Or a deck with a lot of backlash reversals.
Yeah, correct.
I know in Classic, because I know we played Classic, until fairly recently. More recently than some of you guys, but Andre was always one that gave Bookerman a hard time just because the hand goes down to almost zero with the pre-match, and obviously Andre can get off to a hot start if he wants to, or he could in Classic just hide the backstage, get rid of his hand, so forth. Other than that, I always felt like Bookerman held so strongly. But you're right. Any aggro deck, and that can get off to a hot start, Bookerman, it's going to be hard for him to catch up. All right,
Yeah,
I need to ask
correct.
each of you, because I don't even have an answer for it, but I want to get your opinions. Who do you think is the best superstar in the game?
Oof.
Me, you're asking me, is it? Best
Everyone,
superstar in the game.
everyone. Who you think could be to your play style, however you want to answer it. Just who you think the best superstar in the game is.
Who's the best or who's your favorite?
No, the best. Who your opinion is the best superstar in the game?
That
When
is a
you look
very
at the
tough
game,
question.
when you play the deck,
Yeah.
you're set. You're just your thoughts are, oh my god, I don't want to play this.
I mean,
How's that?
recency bias for me is Dean Malenko.
I could definitely see that.
I played against the Dean, Free Dudes Dean in Worlds, and it was the least enjoyable game I think I've ever had just because of how everything worked. You know, I, he my deck was a pure discard deck, and he just like put cards in play that made me discard because they were WCW, and I had less cards in hand than him, and he was just throwing stuff from ringside. So it was a it was a tough. I think he's really good.
Who do you got, Brian?
Yeah, Dean is a very top candidate. You know, for my play style, I'll go with Seamus for a lot of the reasons why Oder like Jinder. Seamus is extremely flexible. He can recover from a bad start. He can relatively easily recover RFG. He has a pre-match that's a damn good finisher in Great White. Like he just everything. Just he can do as much of everything as you can. And I think you can, and the fact that you can shut off the opponent's hand for these gigantic strikes and pump kicks once you start building up your backstage. He's got ways to kill you. He's got ways to survive. I think he would probably be my vote for best.
Well, for me, honestly, I think overall, I would say overall, right? Adaptability and all that, superstar support. I would say, just Jericho in general. He has extremely good cards, lots of cards actually, and I would say his two best variants are, of course, Highlight and Second Coming, which um, both of them can stand their own. Really, 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 they can place pretty high. I would say most of the time. So I would say, yeah, overall, I would say Jericho. I can't really think of anyone else. There are others like Ripley and all that, but yeah, I think my vote goes to Jericho. Yeah.
I
George,
haven't played it since its revision, um, and I won't say best. So maybe this is a cop out answer because it's been revised. But I'd say probably one of the most laughable experiences, like I can't believe this person can do this, was AJ Lee. When I played AJ Lee pre-revision, and I'm thinking, really, it wasn't even that it was a negative play experience. I just started laughing with what she can do. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! You can do all this, and um, and I just could not even believe it. I know since it's been revised, so it's water under the bridge. But playing that game, I just could not believe the amount of combination she had between. I think she had a combo of Mickey James, John Cena. She just had a mix of everybody, and it was almost laughable when playing the game because you just couldn't believe that this was happening to you.
Yeah.
Which
Fun fact, I did fight Hawk Trial with I think with one of the league matches with AJ Lee. I think it was this BWO shuffle format as well. I fought Hawk Trial. I got reset twice, as in he simply the best me twice until I down with 0-4, and I still won
yeah,
with AJ Lee.
I
Yeah.
I watched that game. That was an interesting game to watch. I think he was Carlito and Primo.
Yes, he was Kaito Primo. He did play split an opponent, I think thrice. I mean, all three went through. My hand was gone, my fort was gone, and I still won. Yeah.
but I will agree with Ryan on Sheamus. I think Sheamus is, in my mind, one of the best in the game, and that might be just because I have a schoolboy Sheamus still embedded in my brain that got the best of
Uh,
me. No one to be named, but I have a schoolboy Sheamus that uh, had a card that could be played from backstage and can't be reversed by hybrids. But we won't talk about that person. So
nah, it's me.
we know. They know.
That
Yeah.
so I think that is what's kind of cool though too is you're a playtester now, right, Oder?
Yes, correct.
I think having you as a playtester is going to be kind of nice because you seem to build some pretty find some pretty neat tricks and stuff out there with cards that other people don't see or might be abused, and add that to the playtest team to kind of balance some of the stuff that comes out, which is really hard to do when there's 400 plus superstars and only so much free time in a day with so many people to test the different aspects.
I could say he's already had a very positive impact on the team in the short time he's been there. Lot of good suggestions already.
I look forward
Yeah,
to
thank you so much.
seeing what the new set looks like when it comes out, whenever the time is right. No rush, it's summer, so I don't need any more stuff to do right now. So
But if Stephanie comes out, but if the next set comes out with Stephanie broken, we know who to blame for it.
not Brian, I can tell you that much.
No,
Yeah.
not Ponder either. Ponder had a very special hatred for Stephanie way back in the day. Talking about Virtual 6 because it was Norman Smiley, but that was before the Boss's Daughter revision. The Boss's Daughter got him hot.
What
That was
what did it? So that was before I started playing virtual. What did it do previously
so
then?
the
That was
original Boss's Daughter was the managed by AW effect, except instead of discarding a card, you hit an enforcer you weren't using.
gross.
So she could, like, if you were playing girly grab, let's say, and they dropped the elbow, you could hide the Coach Cole Finkel enforcer, and the elbow is no longer a legal play, and then there you go. At one time, it also made her arsenal non-uniques unique, which sounds like a downside until you realize that the one could pick itself up and, like, as part of its play cost. So with Premier SmackDown, you literally just drew your deck at 1 Fortitude, just bounce the same card over and over again. I don't remember what the card's name, but it's the one Fort non-unique that came in Classic. But yeah, when it was made unique, it says put one unique card from your ring to your hand. It was non-unique when it was printed in comic images, so it was no problem. But when we made it unique as part of the attempt to draw her back, if she had Premier SmackDown and that action, she drew her deck.
So
But
she
yeah,
got overcorrected.
She came out in V1. It took a few years. She got overcorrected. Then they recorrected it again, and it's what it is today. And that's another one of those situations where I'm not sure we want to go back to that, Stephanie. But again, someone needs help. We should design it. Absolutely. But not that. Let's not do that again.
Well, the good news is there's been many years of her in the scene to come up with probably a new type of gimmick that would work out well for her. So I always look forward to. I'm definitely very biased to comic image printed characters. I think more so because that was the era that I watched wrestling. I don't watch wrestling so much these days, so I don't gravitate to the superstars now. But anytime I see a comic image person getting a revamp or support, I am definitely usually jump on those bandwagons fairly quickly. So
That's good.
And by
You'll probably have a lot to jump on this set. That's
and
all
by
I'm saying.
and by quickly, it means it takes him a month and a half to build a single deck for one of those superstars he's gravitated towards.
listen, guys, listen. I mean, when I build a deck, I want it to be perfect right off the bat because so if you think about the agony of building a deck, my agony of revising a deck is even worse. So that's why, like, when you, I mean, Joe was my primary playtester with Bischoff, and I will say, Oder, my Bischoff did start heavy volley, but when I was testing heavy against New Nexus, I realized all volley was not working as well. So then I ended up adding, some Germans and shoot lockups and incorporating the Duke Love Enforcer and coming up with these different ideas. And it was for Worlds, so I was motivated. But I think in a casual setting, if Bischoff failed, it would have went to the side, and then I would have never gone back to it. So there's too much. If decks were available right out of the box, I would not hate that. Let's put it that way.
Well, you can just ask Anthony. He's built almost every superstar. Give you a
now,
deck.
so in a game where that's not available, I will not net deck. I'm not going to net deck off somebody either. So
I think I have 90 superstars ready to test, something like that. I've gotten to a point at work sometimes where I can have a little bit of free time, and I've just been building different superstars. Just a
that's
few.
good.
There's been a lot of conversation of, hey, what would you do with this superstar? 2 minutes
Yeah,
later.
Joe and I have had conversations quite a bit about that. Well, what would you do with the Bellator, for example?
Can we make them playable?
Yeah, there were some conversations that went like that.
I have 23 decks built. 23. But 1, 2, 3, 4. 9 of them are from BWO, from the wheel tournament. To put it in perspective on my deck building motivation. I think people definitely get tired of playing the same decks, but then I just can't. If I'm gonna have time to sit down, I want to play, not sit there and build a deck. And I don't know about you guys, but I have 3 little kids, so that time to build and play is just not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta pick your battles with that.
Until my kids can start to read, and then they can play Raw Deal with me.
Then they can build your decks.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a little
Yeah, that's
4-way
great.
table like a Magic Commander thing where you get all 4-way all at once.
Plenty to fish through, that's for sure. be nice to play some in-person cards again a little more often too. I do miss that part the most. The deck building functionality is easier with Octagon. I will not discount that one bit, but the aspect of playing in real life more often is I do miss that part a lot.
Speaking
I
speaking
about
of
to say
real
I have
life, I was to say, Brian, I was gonna ask you to go through your recent tournament you just went to or
yeah.
event.
So we had a raw draft for virtual enrichment. Now, the way they've done it is that they've only put a couple sets in at a time over like a 3-4 month period, so everyone has time to look at them and digest them. And at the end of that month period, when we go to the next group of sets, we do a raw draft. We all vote on the new superstars that came. In this case, it was V10, V11, and TNF 1 and 2, I think. It was the Jim Cornette set and the Kyrie Sane set. And we all voted online as to which superstars we wanted. And the way Raw Draft works is that there's X+1 decks available, where X is the number of players. So we had 6 to start. We ended up with 5. So we had 6 choices to draft from. We each got 9 packs. And the way the packs are done is just somebody does a massive print run of MPC, like a 400 card print run. And then he'll take the time. This is Kevin from the Man of 1,000 Questions, Kevin, actually. He'll take the time to put them into piles, kind of like organizing them into packs of sorts. And he'll tape them together between 2 hard, I don't remember what they're called, the hard press thing. Like he'll basically tape them into a package, and you won't be able to see any of the cards. You bid on them like they were sealed packs. If you're not familiar with Raw Draft, basically, you're given a number in seating 1 to 5, and you have to bid a number of packs on a superstar, and the highest bid of packs wins the superstar to play and gets kind of their starter kit. And then they have to take the packs that they bid and put them under other superstars. So what you get in theory is that the strongest superstars go early. There might be a bidding war, there might not, but either way, those packs are going to go under weaker superstars, so that weaker superstars have a better chance of pulling better decks together. So I won with Revival. This was my draft card. I actually did a count before we came online here. As far as cards that I would put in the deck is a constructed deck. I think I had like half a Backlash deck and half an Arsenal, just from like the packs that I pulled. And then you fill in the gaps here and there. I had a random shoot lockup in there, which you could argue yes or no for a blindside deck. That's a different question altogether. But the matches we did 3 rounds. My first round was Bobby Roode. It was a close game. I think I ended up pulling it out because I just he ran out of reversals to Brutal Beating and Blindside Beal Toss. And between that and the Dirty, I was able to get my trips online and start making him discard. And I just kind of steamrolled from there. My round 2 was against the Man. The Man jumped out to a lot of fortitude ahead of time. The Man actually was the highest superstar value and pulled a back by Mr. McMahon. So that was a pretty significant advantage right there. She pulled out to a head. She got a clothesline and a blatant choke off on me. I eventually fought back, and I used Dash's inverted figure 4 to RFG the blatant choke, so she couldn't just chuck finishers at me. And then I just kind of attacked him with my blindsides, and that was it. And then round 3 was Anson. Who was Anson? He was Brian Pillman. So my round 3 was Brian Pillman. Not bad. I didn't like Pillman in this draft just because he needs next set to come for his next 4 cards to show up, and it makes him that much better. But also B, he's a very tough build because he's too wide open. He could do fan favorite, he could do treater, he could do hard family, he could do high flying style, he could do WCW, he could do horseman. Like, you end up not getting you good at a lot of different things, but not great at everything. So I wasn't thrilled. I didn't want him in the draft process, but I went with it, and it was pretty much kind of the same thing. Most of my games ended up, I would start off a little behind, and then I would get a dirty, and then I would get brutal and blindside Beal toss, and then it would just from there start to be the bigger blindside moves, the blindside sleepers, the blindside drop toe holds, and just throwing them with all of the specific love that the revival get for protecting blind sides and making them chain for their effects and all of that fun stuff. And the final opponent was Kyle O'Reilly. The problem that Kyle O'Reilly might have presented was that his draft kit gave him 3 thrust knee lifts. So when you get a starter, I should back up and explain that. You're also given 5 cards that work with your ability and your cards. For example, as the Revival, I got 3 ready to fights when I drafted the Revival. I got the 3 blindside Beal tosses. I got 3 trips, which is a tag reversal because they can pack tag reversals. And a couple other things. I don't remember the full package. In Kyle's package was 3 thrust knee lifts. So he was a ringside remover, and I'd been kind of living out of my ringside most of the day. So I had to play that one without a ringside pile. It was the only match where I jumped out ahead. I thought I would run out of steam. I ended up not doing so, mostly because the Revival's ability protects their blind sides from thrust knee lifts. So in the end, I ended up pulling away from it and getting the win. But that was the only one that didn't go to the other script. I didn't start behind. I was just kind of attacking from the start. So for my win, we had a whole bunch of awesome prizes. I took home a playmat that has the Rock's final boss thing emblazoned. I also took home a full Fiend set, which is now blurred, but
Nice.
including a virtual version of the Mandible Claw original. So that's one of the things. If you go and play, everyone gets a pick at the virtual prize cards, and the prize cards include these draft sets that were not picked. So who wasn't picked this time? I think was it Cornet? I think Cornet wasn't picked this time out of the 6 that we had. And whoever that was, that's going to go into the pool of prizes, and at the end of the next tournament, regardless of where you pick or where you place, you get 1 pick out of that prize bucket. Obviously first gets first, second gets second, all the way down. So there's a Tommaso Ciampa set that's fair game, and then there's I think a Jim Cornette set that's fair game. If not Jim Cornette, a Kyrie Satan. Those will get added to the prize pool, and you have an opportunity to pick those in lieu of, say, a title belt card as a prize. And all of this is organized by Man of 1,000 Questions, Kevin. He's kind of like the guy who runs the Richmond scene. Phenomenal effort from him. He's doing a lot of this out of his own pocket. It's very much appreciated. I know the guys there have a lot of fun. They try to keep it casual. Sometimes I don't exactly listen, but I'm learning. I'm trying to keep it more casual. But, drafts for me are kind of like we can cut loose because everyone's starting from even. Everyone gets same number of packs. Everyone has to draft their superstar. So it's not like I'm coming in here with all of this, like all of these cards that like people don't print out or whatever, But it's a lot of fun. If you are anywhere near Richmond, Virginia, I would recommend you come down. Today is the 22nd of July. The next tournament is August 10th of 2024, and I'd highly recommend coming down if you're interested. Man of 1,000 Questions, Kevin on Discord.
So with your revival pick, what draft pick was it? And was that the one you wanted?
So I couldn't decide. I couldn't decide. I thought the man would be very good, and I was right. just because highest superstar value, and she got 3 copies of 3 different precision moves, which were some of the best moves in like the draft pool. That was my first choice. I had Revival third behind Kyle, but at the last minute I decided to go with Revival instead of Kyle. I was seat 4, and seats 1, 2, and 3 got their first choice. There was some bidding, extra bidding packs, but I did make the man player go to 3 packs. I've bid 2 to make sure he would put some packs underneath for that. But I was 4th seed. I could have chosen O'Reilly, Cornette, and Revival, and I ended up choosing the Revival.
Worked out well for you.
Yeah, it did. Ringside manipulation's good and limited. Who would have thought that? The last draft we had, I won with Brodus Clay, I think. Was not a guy you'd think about in like a constructed format. He's not a great superstar, but the ability to discard a card and take a reversal out of your ringside in a limited format is very good. So, yeah.
Thanks for that update, Brian. I wish I was a little closer to Richmond to make it to some of those, but
I'd say you could fly to Raleigh and ride with me, but I mean, I don't know. I think that helps any.
it's not cheap either then.
You ain't kidding.
One of these days, I'll convince Nightlife and Luke to make the ride. It's only 10 hours. I shouldn't say only, but it's a 10-hour drive. It's not awful.
That's about the same as it is for me, about 10 hours.
Yeah, well, but if you have if you're going alone, of course, it's not
I'd
worth it, right? But
I'd have to ride with Anthony.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't ride with Anthony. But with Luke and Jake Knight, obviously we have a little tournament scene up here too. I don't think we could convince the others to come, but I feel like if we could organize, that's a doable trip. I drove it overnight with 2 kids once. We're going to Williamsburg, so it's not undoable by any means. But to convince my wife I'm going down to play Raw Deal, I think I better have more than just me going down to convince why I'm heading down to Virginia for a couple days.
Yeah. I there were a couple times my wife didn't want me to go, but I ended up saying she could come along and then do something while I'm playing. There happens to be a really nice shopping mall near the store, so I just sent her there and she was fine. But I do have.
You can go spend money and I'll go play cards.
Basically, we'll both spend money. You don't go to a store, even if you don't pay the store for the tournament. You don't go show up and not get something. So even if I get like $5 worth of stuff, I'm still spending. But yeah, I mean, the next Raw draft will probably be in about 3 to 4 months. So I know Kevin's starting to announce them. That's probably the easiest event to come to because you don't need anything. You don't need physical cards. You could show up and draft and just, as long as you have, I think it's like a $30 entry for drafts. Normal tournaments are free. So constructed's free, but virtual draft I think is 30 a piece. But you brought home,
given how much he's putting into printing these cards.
Yeah, just to give you an idea, this was the stack of the draft that I got. There's a couple prize packs in there, but like, get these many cards when you come through. You get your money's worth compared to what it costs on MPC.
Yeah, it costs you more than $30 to print that much.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a great time. Richmond's always a great time, but if you're going to make a trip, like a multiple hour trip beyond what I do, which is 4 hours each way, I would say the Raw drafts are the best ones. They're usually the most fun. They're the most even. If you want to come constructed, I'm not going to stop you. But like for a long trip like yours, George, I would suggest the Raw drafts.
Good to know. I'll keep it in mind.
You're going to convince Oder to fly over at this rate.
Hey, we got a guest room, Oder. Come on down.
Yeah, I have never been to the US before. I mean, it will be cool. I think it will be cool. Yeah.
But I recommend your first trip to the U.S. not be Richmond, Virginia. There are a lot of places in the U.S. to come see. No
Yeah,
offense to Richmond, Virginia, but I don't know if that'd be my first destination if I'm coming to the
yeah,
U.S.
I could see that. If first time in the US, got to stop in New York, in my opinion. But that could, I don't know how much these days, but New York was always a decent tourist place.
Okay, Las Vegas.
Vegas is better, but New York is a good start.
You
Vegas
can
is
go
the
to
other side of the country, though, so you'd have to take a flight to get to the tournament. New York,
Oh, okay.
New York, you can get public transportation, albeit a little expensive, to get from New York to Richmond.
I see. But just now you were mentioning that you guys get to drive like maybe 10 hours overnight, to a certain place. Wouldn't it be better to take a flight? I mean, just curious.
Some places maybe for that one, yeah. Some places aren't as direct depending on where you're going. Where if you have to take a connecting flight and the layovers, you could actually spend more time on a plane. I think I could go from Boston to Richmond direct, maybe a layover. By the time you do it all and you get to the airport 2 hours before, and you go, and then it you almost spend the same amount of time.
It's a it's might have a money versus time argument too. Like, is the convenience of the flight worth the extra time you're going to spend in the car, which is usually cheaper than the flight?
Yeah, it's also not every American airline flies to every city. So there, like George was referring to, you might get to a point where if you're leaving out of New York or Boston, they may not have a direct flight to Richmond. I'm pretty sure you can't go Raleigh to Richmond, but that's only 180 miles difference. Like, just as an example. For me, it's a doable drive. It's about, like, if not stopping, you can do it in 3 hours. It's usually closer to 4. So I do that day, except when my wife comes, we get a hotel, we stay overnight, we have a nice dinner. We enjoy not being home for a night. But
Okay, okay.
that's kind of the situation with flights. They're difficult. Security can be a pain in the ass. It's necessary, but it can be a pain, and you don't always get the right flight you want. I think sometimes you'll have to fly. If you look at a map, you'll be like, this makes no sense at all. But there have been some flights I've seen where you fly out of New York or New Jersey, and if you're going to Atlanta, which is about 700 miles south, you'll have to go through Detroit, which is about 450 miles northwest of you, and then come back to Atlanta. And that's what he's talking about, a layover. That's what that is. You'll go to Detroit, you'll disembark from your plane, you'll go to a different plane at a different spot, and you'll get on that plane and take the Detroit plane to Atlanta.
And you have
So
to
you're
hope
actually,
your luggage also makes it to the other plane.
and also that no one pushes a malicious update to Windows while you're between flights, because that might hinder you slightly.
See, okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, things are very different in Singapore. I mean, it's a very small country. You can pretty much, even from the two furthest points, it won't take you more than an hour and 20 minutes drive to reach.
Yeah.
Yep. And we usually, I mean, if you fly to Singapore, there's only one airport. We don't have any states or whatsoever. Yeah, so it's a different kind of experience, I would say.
Oh yeah,
I think any
Yeah.
one of your states in the US is bigger than Singapore as a country itself. Yeah,
Rhode
it's a
Island
very small
is
place.
close. Rhode
Yeah,
Island's close.
not nearly as long, but probably the closest.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of states that are much bigger than that. The state I live in, point to point, end to end, is probably a 6 or 7 hour drive if you go from the shore to the mountains, something like that. And even New Yeah, I do know that overseas, and this is something I've experienced traveling for business. it's a lot more casual to fly around to the different countries. Like in the United States, we make a big deal flying not only interstate but intercountry. It's like, so many hours and passports and all of these other things have to be checked off. Most of my friends from Europe in particular, but I've heard a couple in Asia too. There's some countries you could just get on a plane and go. It's kind of like an Airbus in that way. England in particular used to have a lot of just easy flights. Amsterdam used to be Paris before the train came in, but you could go from like London airports to like any of those countries pretty easily and pretty cheaply. So I mean, it's a different way. It's a different way of looking at it. I'm not sure if that's the case in Singapore. If you wanted to travel to another country, how easy it would be to fly. I know in Europe it's very easy. Sometimes in India as well, I've heard it's easy to get a flight, but not 100% on Asia overall.
Yeah, for Singapore, it's pretty okay. I mean, the process wise is quite clear cut, straightforward. It's quite streamlined, I would say. And yeah, pretty much. I don't really have much to say because I don't travel that often for work because my work is mainly centralized around Singapore as well. I don't have a lot of overseas dealings. It's more for leisure. But yeah, pretty much we don't really have much of a problem. And the good thing about Singapore is that our passport actually we don't have to get visas to travel to a lot of countries.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good thing about having a Singapore passport. So yeah, it's quite pretty clear cut for us.
All right, so before we get ready to end it here, is there anything else raw deal wise you guys want to talk about or want to bring up?
That's it for me. Time for bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I covered everything that I wanted to.
Yep,
Well,
I guess we'll just wait for V15 then. Hmm.
well, I want to thank you for coming on, Oder, and sharing your thoughts on worlds and some of your mindset on your choices and your games. Really appreciate the chat.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
no
It's good to
problem.
have you on.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
coming
thanks
on.
for
It's always a pleasure to have conversations with you.
yeah. Well, likewise, thanks for having me on. It's very nice to talk to you guys, and yeah, we can see when we if there's going to be a next one. I don't definitely I'll love to come on and hopefully if with more people, that we can talk about more stuff, talk shop, that's what you say.
Yeah, talk shop.
Talk shop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
All right, well, thanks
Take,
for chatting, guys. We'll talk soon.
have a
Take
good
care,
night.
gentlemen.
Okay. See you. Good night.